Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream, or if you're watching this on replay, welcome you. We are going to have a great guest, but first join me in watching the countdown, and our guest will join us in about 11 minutes. If you're watching this on replay, you may want to fast forward to that point. Thanks for being here.
Just buying that software isn't what makes the difference. You've got to learn to use that tool, just like you've got to learn to use your high-end Powermatic woodworking tools or Festool for Sedge out there.
So I think you got to kind of leverage all of it.
And I just realized this is a new camera. I didn't take off the protective plastic over it, so I don't know if that was blurry or not for you. Oops.
Oh, hey, look at that.
In your little intro, which was very well put together, as I was sitting backstage and you had all these little clips from your previous guests, there was lots of good information in there, but somebody mentioned, just finding that thing that you love and do the thing you love. Don't make things that you don't like making.
In terms of growing a business, especially a business where you make things, is make the things you want to sell. I want to say Brad Rodriguez said this many times a while back, where it's like, if you don't want to sell cutting boards, stop making cutting boards. If you want to sell tables, make some tables and sell them at a loss if you have to, just to get some tables out there you sold. You attract clients that you can show you've actually made a thing. If you're trying to sell couches, don't keep making coasters telling people you can make couches. Make some couches.
A lot of times, usually when people start out on YouTube or when they're building a YouTube channel, they'll feel like their energies, if it's a scale of 1 to 10, they'll feel like they're at like an 8 or a 9, and they'll be like, woohoo! But then when they actually watch themselves on camera, it's actually more like a 2 or 3.
We do take sponsors, especially as a lot of the smaller channels. And there's two ways they talk about sponsorship. Sponsorship is someone paying you to do something, and the other one is getting free tools and stuff.
Launch day is my favorite day. That is my favorite day of the week. I just absolutely love launching videos and getting the feedback. So yeah, that's most videos take 4 to 5 full days to make. And I would like to streamline that. I would like to put out more videos in a week.
It's really kind of sad because I didn't get involved even when he was doing the noodle boards. He pretty much did all that. I did everything in the house so that he could stay in the shop a lot.
I am a little conflicted, I think. It initially started off with just sharing like my sewing machines and sewing tips and stuff like that. And then it kind of morphed into sharing the Mastering Mayhem merch items that I was making. And then along the way, I kind of shared some DeWalt tool and obsessions that I've had.
Hats off to Ira. I mean, I can't imagine doing it with small kids. That's a lot of work.
Well, this is a little chaotic, so.
My part really didn't start until Live Edge started. When we started Live Edge, I don't know, I felt different about everything. It felt real to me. I think everything started feeling real to him, after the first few months because he was in the shop. It didn't really feel real to me until Live Edge started. And now I see this as my future too. I don't think I'll be a teacher much longer.
Because I wasn't quite niched enough, but I think because my channel name is I Don't Even Work Here, I think I'm just going to roll with.
I'm going to put out some shorts for stage.
One thing I'm good at probably more than anything else is business and understanding the way businesses work and how to run a business. And I always come at from very much the money ball approach. I don't want to hit home runs. I just want to get on base and get on base and get on base.
And I think it's easier for people to look at my story, for example, or anybody like in a similar story and think that was an easy decision. And I can't state how much that was a very hard decision for both my wife and I.
I like the premise of doing a tool review, comparing two tools, and especially if they are popular tools.
You can make the life you want to, you can make the business you want to, whatever it is you want to make.
It wasn't like YouTube's good and this and that. Like I was still pretty new to YouTube and didn't know that was sustainable long term, and so it was a gamble. And I'd worked for a long time to get in the position I was at, and it was a very, very hard decision to basically give that up for potentially the rest of my life.
I never even considered the second channel. I just think that all of my content needs to go where I am.
It's a lot of risk and fear, but moving through those deliberately.
So there's a system to it, and you follow that system.
So what have you learned and done to try to change? And so that's the thing I always do is it's a continuous process of evolution.
Scheduling and trying to edit and get a video out, like it's really hard to follow exactly. If you do that and do it consistently, it'll generate views.
Interesting. A lot of times you might see channels or businesses that are frustrated because they're not growing, and you look and you realize that for years or dozens of iterations, you look at the most recent and you go back a few years or a few dozen iterations and there's zero change.
I'd like to see channels evolve into more of like a channel, like we're traditional like TV channel, where you have a channel, but there's different shows within that channel. And, you know, you could have the segment for your shorts or your live streams and your longs, you know, all these different things that people can kind of just pick and choose what they want to watch.
And my goal isn't to get the most views on YouTube. My goal is, you know, to provide confidence, inspiration, and knowledge through entertaining and engaging content. So
what's the next step? What is the next thing? What's going to get you to that next place?
You got to get them to click. You got to get them to watch. I'm terrible at thumbnails. I hate doing them. I would stress so bad over doing them. I've actually hired somebody else to do them now. That's why they look different. I'm not doing them anymore. I took that out of my hands, and I'm stress-free on that part.
Another thing is also onboarding people that are better than me at something. So I have an editor I've been working with for about 2 years now.
One day it just kind of hit me that, okay, I watch a lot of these videos and I obviously find value in them. Why can I not be the person on the other side of the camera, right? Providing the content and the information.
With me being a business-minded individual and trying to make sure that I'm providing for my family, but also always growing.
Our audience smells authenticity, and whether or not you're enjoying what you do very easy.
I'll always be that individual that loves YouTube, that always wants to do extremely detailed videos on how to build.
I feel like the biggest challenge is probably getting yelled at to put on protective.
I'm still focused on my woodworking. I'm focused on trying to get better. I just want to try new things and break barriers and just be the best woodworker I can be, and then document that. I just don't really have the time or desire to really become a student of YouTube. So I'm always playing catch up. I'm always just doing the best I can to get the most out of what we're doing, but I am no student of YouTube, that's for sure.
A good plan of attack is to create a channel on YouTube or an account on YouTube that you don't have any ties to. You've never watched anything on there, and just start watching content you're interested in on that channel. Don't watch the news, or don't click off and start watching, you know, the latest episode or whatever. Just use that account strictly for that, and that'll kind of start jumping up what's being surfaced to people. And then from there, you can kind of...
You know, as far as equipment goes, and I say this adamantly all the time, there is nothing I've ever made that I couldn't make by hand. You know, and I have a skill set that I've developed that I could make it by hand. Does having a CNC make it faster? You bet it does.
The big change that I've seen is that people have gotten even shorter attention spans than normal. So if you are going to start a YouTube channel and you're going to start recording yourself working, keep the pace really, really fast. People get bored super quick, and when they get bored, they either start tapping those arrow keys to speed through the video, or else they'll just drag the slider across the screen so that they can speed through and skip to the end and see what you've built. But if you want to engage them throughout the whole video, you've got to keep the pace really, really fast.
Basically structure your channel so that you generate more views. They watch one video, they're going to watch the next, the next, the next. If you look, and you can tell the difference I can see it in my analytics. I can see it in the way my channel's structured.
The first thing that I would recommend to anybody, and this of course applies to any niche that you're looking to start a channel for, is before you even take the first steps in terms of researching and all that, which we'll talk about in a second, I would have a really honest conversation with yourself about what you're looking to get out of the channel and what your expectations are.
As a rule of thumb, post-production takes 6 times recorded footage length. Not shoot time, but recorded footage length. So if you record a 5-minute clip, it's going to take you a minimum of 30 minutes to edit that 5-minute clip, even if you only edit down into 30 seconds, because you have to watch it, then you make some notes, and then you watch it again, you make some cuts, and you watch it again, and then when it fits into the timeline, by rule, you're going to see that same clip roughly 6 times.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Hey, everybody. I'm glad you made it. I'm sorry about last week. Work got in the way, and I'm glad to be here tonight, where we're going to try to make Monday nights great. And I've got a great guest for you. So I appreciate you being here. First of all, I want to remind you, the chat is where it's at. Talk it up in the chat with each other, chat with me and the guest. And the more you put into it, the more you get out of it, I think. I also want to remind you, if you do have a question, put a Q at the beginning of your chat comment. That way it helps me identify your question to make sure it gets answered. And if you're celebrating a milestone, we want to celebrate with you, whether that milestone is that you hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, or you had a birth in the family. No matter what it is, we want to celebrate with you, and we look forward to that. I want to bring on our guest. He is Mighty Sawdust on YouTube, and he has just passed 1,000 subscribers. And one thing I know about the guy, he's a great guy, but he's really short. So please help me welcome Dariusz.
Hello.
Am I saying your name right?
Yep. Let me get a step. Let me get a step stool.
So truth is, Dariusz is only like 6'7", so he's
on a good day,
not short at all. I'm sorry.
On a good day.
On a good day, according to what boots you're wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate you being on. Congratulations on hitting 1,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel. You've had a lot of growth lately.
Yeah. I think it's just pure luck and some just timing. Just in the beginning, I think I first put out like a quick little short of my workbench I was kind of building. It was kind of just like a second thought, like, oh, I'll just build this bench, and then I'm like, you know what, I'll do maybe a YouTube channel. So I kind of put a little short of like what I did, and that little 30-second clip, I think has like 20,000+ views altogether. But it took a while to get going, and I think like 2 months in, eventually some of the videos started picking up, and then come like the holidays, obviously just big old spike. I went from like, I don't know, it was like 50 subscribers all the way up to I think 300 or so. Then it stalled for a little while, and then just every so often little spike, and then just recently to kind of change some thumbnails and then put out a video, and then it just like snowballed there, and then every day a few more subscribers and 1,000.
Yeah. So which video lately do you think helped you really spike it up? Was it the tape or which
I think it was it's kind of hard to tell, but I think it was a painter's tape originally. It was like a couple of days before I had some free time. I'm like just mess around with the previous thumbnails. I'm like, let me just try something different. So I kind of started off with that thumbnail with the painter's tape, and then from that point on, I'm like, let me try to get a little bit better this style of the thumbnail, and all of a sudden, all the channels, all those videos started kind of picking up. And I think it was just, they paint, then they went to the next one, and then just kind of kept growing from there.
Yeah, kind of building one video on another. So what got you the idea to make the video on the tape?
Everything I was kind of watching on my free time YouTube, I see build of, whether it's garden furniture, patio furniture, indoor remodeling and stuff like that. I follow a few YouTubers doing that stuff because it interests me of like how they go around about, designing a plain wall into something, like a wow factor. So I would be watching stuff, and I'm like, and I see the tips. I'm like, okay, it's tool tips and how to do things. I'm like, I haven't noticed anything with painter's tape. And obviously we all have used the painter's tape, obviously, for like a zero clearance and get that nice clean cut. So I was like kind of thinking back, like, what have I used it for before? And like, I'm like, you know what? Let me put a video. And I think when I did a search, I think I only seen like 3 or 4 people actually have a video, and I seen one person. I can't think of who it was, but it seemed like 2 million views. I was like, huh, let me see if I can gain some interest. Maybe somebody going forward now sees it, and it kind of just picked up a little bit. Not as much as a 2 million, but I'll take a percentage of that. So I was like, okay, yeah. I had like a list of like I think I came up with about 15 different tricks, and I'm like, let me keep it short because everyone's attention span with TikTok and everything is pretty short. So kind of broke it down to like about 7 of them, and just kind of got little clips of things I was doing, and I had in previous videos that I'm like, let me just cut this piece in here and turn it into a video, and it kind of just worked.
Awesome. So are you doing your own thumbnails?
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen some improvement in your thumbnails. That's why I commented. So you've been spending more energy on those, or did you figure that out? What's going on?
I kind of figured it out to a point. I was just kind of doing searches on like how to this, and then I can't think. I'm not at my laptop. I'm in the shed. I seen someone that you have like Think Media, and there's some person that was doing like, I'll create thumbnails that are appealing, and try this style. So I'm like, okay, let me look at it. I'm like, sounds interesting. So I kind of paid into the subscription for it to learn and see like templates and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I see how it's been done. It was like a little tutorial that you basically buy. I'm watching the video. I'm like, okay, I think I can manage this. And then 3 hours later, I'm like, okay, try and get that right. It's not looking like it, but it's getting close. And then like, okay, I kind of like the look of it. I have a template of it. Then I just change colors here and there, try to add in little tidbits or different background. So I at least have something to work with in that style, because it seems a little more professional, and it kind of is eye-catching versus, just like, just plain old me, but like a little background that, gives a little pizzazz. It seems like it has worked.
Well, good. What are you using to make your thumbnails? What software?
I'm using the Adobe Premium. So I have that with the videos, and then of the whole Adobe platform. So I have Photoshop, and I was on a website. I can't think of it. One of those like create your thumbnail kind of thing. I kind of started on it, but you're limited to what you can kind of put in and make style. Photoshop, obviously a learning curve, but if you just, YouTube it, there's someone that is kind of teaching it and showing examples, and you just kind of try to incorporate it into your style of what you're doing. Obviously, all these channels you have, how to grow a channel, how to do this kind of stuff, or how to better your life, everything else like that. But there's no specific woodworking version, so you just kind of adapt it to make it look good. Like there's not that many, woodworking backgrounds versus, bedroom shots and offices, stuff like that. So you just kind of play around with it and see what works, and just literally it's a learning curve, just playing around, seeing what you could do, and all of a sudden it's when I was like, ooh, it can do this, let me just play around with it, and if it works, it works.
Yeah, well, you have 1,000 subscribers, but you're getting 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 views on project videos. So I know there's a lot of creators out there that would love those stats to get, 4,000 views for a project video right now.
Yeah, I think it was just pure luck.
Pretty good.
Honestly, there's people looking out there like, trying to do something in a small space also, and they see it's a shed, they'll check it out, and it's maybe the French cleat, because it's something that kind of gives you the visual of where everything is, and it's up off the ground, so you have all the floor space to do stuff. So maybe they're just kind of intrigued to like look at it. They're not they're not the most greatest videos, but they're at least maybe watching it to get an idea, and then they just do it themselves, because I don't have any build plans for the stuff. Eventually I'll probably get to that point, but it's just kind of like, I thought of it, like, here, this is how I build it, and just kind of follow along, and they'll have their own ideas of how they want to do, because everyone has different tools. So like my workbench, I have primarily all DeWalt stuff, just because I did the research back then of which brand kind of go into and be cordless. So it's like, well, you kind of had to pick one instead of having 20 different battery packs trying to find which one is plug in. So I kind of chose DeWalt, but each one's kind of a different spec and different size. So, and I have 3 drills. Somebody has like 5 drills, so they're gonna change things up around a little bit. And I just sanding. Everyone has their little pads everywhere. Figured that'd be a cool little thing of like, let's clean up this mess. And I just had a little box with a couple shelves and for different grits for orbital sander. And my measurements fit my DeWalt version. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of different versions of tools. You just kind of design it to your specs.
So what's your goal with your channel? Where do you want to go from here?
Obviously, still growing, still making good content. Obviously, I haven't put out a video as off. I was kind of trying to do every week or 2 weeks, but with a full-time job and family, and now the summer, obviously, weekends you want to go out, do stuff with the family. So you're trying to squeeze in what you can. And I'm in a shed, so it's not like a garage where you can easily temperature control it. I do have a 4-in-1 AC heater, dehumidifier, fan unit that helps out. But if I'm working, I don't get home till like 1 o'clock and it's been 90 degrees outside, do I turn it on to cool it off? By the time it cools off to be comfortable to work in here, oh, it's like 5 o'clock, gotta go make dinner. And then next thing you know, it's like 8, 9 o'clock, ready to go to sleep because I wake up like 3 o'clock in the morning to work. So it's, you squeeze where you can get the stuff in. And basically now it's got the subscribers. Now it's basically the key is definitely the view count. So now it's like a real focus on whatever project or any tips I do, try to put out the best version that I can, basically, just to get the views, get that thumbnail that gets the clicks. That's all basically is now, is get the clicks and the views.
I see David Corliss out there. David, I want to thank you. David sent me a dado insert that fits my saw. He had the same saw, but unfortunately he had to buy another one. So he sent me the dado insert. So this gives me an excuse to buy a dado blade finally. So I'm going to be doing that and look forward to putting this to work. Thank you, David.
I love the dado blade. Wish I had one.
Yeah,
I've heard mixed things about the table saw I have, that it could, but I can't, shouldn't. It's like I thought I saw it say you could do a dado blade, but yeah, I'll just do the old-fashioned 20 cuts. I'll be fine.
Let's hit some milestones. So 2 Elm Builds says I hit 1,000 subscribers this week. That is awesome. Congratulations. That's a big one. Everybody's trying to get to that. First Fruits Design Company, 100 subs. Awesome. Every sub makes a difference. Jarmade just hit 19,000 subs. That's awesome. Yeah, Jesus had I think it might have been his first video or second video that went viral, and then he's been steady growing ever since, and doing a great job on videos over there. So you're using Adobe for your thumbnails. What are you using to edit your videos?
The Adobe Premium is for what I do the videos.
Yeah. And what platform are you getting your music from? I know you like that rock music.
What is it? Epic Sound?
Epic Sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just had a bigger variety of, I guess, selection of different genres, so I can kind of pick and choose depending on my mood. I try to see what was on the YouTube platform. It was just kind of like hard to find just initially, unless if you really dig into it, like you have the your intro one from there. But yeah, it just didn't sound right to what I was kind of hoping to find, and I just use that. It works. I just start downloading a whole bunch, and then when I need it, I have a whole nice list of variety to pick from.
Yeah. Well, 413 Furniture, you're not late. I appreciate you being here. So
it's Monday everywhere today.
That's right. So you're working a full-time job, you got a family, and you're trying to squeeze in YouTube. How do you prioritize? How do you shuffle that schedule?
Family, work, and then YouTube, basically. It's just obviously Monday to Friday, mornings are work. I'll try to squeeze in a little time in the shed, weather permitting, before I have to pick up the kid from either her camps or school. Then it's kind of take care of her a little bit until the wife gets home from her work, and then I'll try to sneak out to the shed, get some stuff done in the week. And then depending on what's going on weekends, if we don't have anything planned, like if it's going to be kind of rainy, then I'll be pretty much in the shed because I'm inside and I'm making something. But if it's a beautiful day, then we're out exploring the area.
Yeah. What kind of project are you?
While the kid thinks we're still cool,
Oh yeah, yeah. You got to take advantage of those years. They go by. What project are you working on right now?
I just finished up a quick build for a coworker. She has a Etsy page with like little. So she'll have like tumbler cups, and then she'll put a design on them depending on what's going on, whether it's Halloween themed stuff. And she does some of these craft shows, and she asked if I could do like a kind of a fold out kind of table kind of thing where she can take back and forth. So she was kind of show me a video of someone had one done. So I kind of adapted that stuff and try to get it as cost effective for her. And I just kind of pretty much recycled a whole bunch of material. Like it's almost like, where's the wood in this wood project? So I had some old decking from the patio when I redid it. I had saved the best looking boards possible, used that, planed those down, made a tabletop, and then used these little like wood looking panel things. Usually when there's a pallet of flooring at the store, on the top layer there's this protective thing to protect all that flooring, and one side's like a shiny MDF look, and then one side's the wood cover. So I was like, you know what, we can use that to have the nice wood look on the outside, add some support hinges, and it kind of folds up. I added a little bottom thing of 2x4 to kind of keep it off the ground, since it is MDF. So if she puts it on like moist grass, it just won't soak it up. So a little, weather barrier there. And basically just a quick little build for her. Video that because it's kind of interesting, because it's woodworking, but almost with no wood. But I had to look for it. And I just have a couple little other projects, kind of reorganizing the shed a little bit, getting it kind of tweaked to make a better flow, because I plan on trying to make planners. Made a couple to kind of test my skills. Actually already sold one to a vendor, sold a trellis to a neighbor. And the cool part about the neighbor part, she's actually part of a garden club. So that's my little way in to hopefully for next season, basically get a whole bunch of pre-orders and making these, box planners and trellises for everybody in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Some do very well with those planners. That's for sure.
That's what it seems like. And the prices to buy online are like ridiculous. So I figure maybe, get something locally, gets to some of these neighbors here, and let the word of mouth spread.
Yeah. So what's next as you build your channel? What are you trying to improve on, and where do you go from here?
Well, this was part of like the theme was kind of like a journey into woodworking because as of pretty much last year was when I really kind of got into it. Like I built what originally was going to be a Lego table for my daughter, ended up being a kind of a 3-in-1 thing. It was a Lego table, which was also a coffee table, and it also had kind of storage where I had these like little leather ottomans, 4 of them, where I designed it where I can tuck them underneath to have space around the table when we don't need them. So I kind of built a little cabinet for my daughter next to her bed. So I'm like, these turned out pretty good, and I'm no expert. So I'm like, let me, start building stuff. But, being 6'6", I don't have any really good workbench to use. Everything's like, 32 inches, 33 inches. And when I was building that stuff, that's what I used. So after a while, you're kind of getting frustrated because your back's starting to hurt. So any little mess up where you can't, find your screw or tape measure, definitely a tape measure, you get a little frustrated because you're hurting. So like, what? I'm going to build a workbench. So I originally going to build one in the garage, started to build it, but then it kind of got kicked out of the garage and ended up getting a shed. So that kind of worked out. So I had to like dismantle it from the shed, from the garage, bring it into the shed once it was built. And from that point on, I'm like, let me start this YouTube channel as like a journey into woodworking as I progress. So I at least have a documentation that I can show my daughter, be like, hey, look, this is what I started out with, and look what it has grown so far and what it will hopefully grow further. And then just kind of keep, tweaking, and eventually, if the channel keeps growing, obviously get a little income from the channel where I can put back into buying materials for the shed and just kind of keep growing. And hopefully at one point, if we do move, hopefully it'll be a 2-car garage, or I just get a bigger space, then obviously I can, hopefully upgrade some tools if I have to, and then just keep building stuff because it's kind of fun. It's like, growing up, I had Legos, love building. Now I'm an adult, I have power tools. I can build something. And so far, everything I've kind of built has turned out. It's not perfect, but I'm trying. And it's like, right now it's just shop furniture. That's where I'm getting my practice in. Get the ugliness out, and then eventually move on to building. If I get a new house, obviously at that point we get the nicer stuff with, the walnut and, maple and oak, all that good stuff as furniture, and just build it myself because I know hopefully it end up being cheaper than buying at a department store, because it's hard to find stuff in the department store because it's not real wood and it hasn't lasted. It's, we all know IKEA, right?
Yeah.
The other furniture stores are not that far behind.
Well, it's a matter of legacy too. I have some stuff that my great grandfather built, and I would love for my grandchildren and great grandchildren to be able to hold on to some of what I make. Some of the nicer pieces. Hillbilly Chic, you are not late. Thank you for being here. 4321 made a comment that he's got 2 seasons of selling those planners, and he sold over 150 of them. So he's done well selling them for a little extra income.
Yeah, I've seen some of those posts that he puts out where I see his big old stack of everything that was pre-cut and he's ready to assemble it. I can see if you get a lot of orders, it's going to be time consuming.
Yeah.
But once you get done and get it going, and then obviously I'm assuming he has jigs prepared to make it all a lot quicker, because that's pretty much the key of having a jig made for whatever you're building if you plan on reproducing it.
Yeah, mass production. Rick, you're not late. Thanks for being here. So I can see you're going along this journey. You're recording it, which is great, like you said, for your kids. But trying to build something up, is it a dream or a long-term plan that YouTube might become something more than a side hustle?
Maybe at one point, but I think I'm still far from that. that point yet, but it would be kind of cool if it does pick up where, I can do this more on a consistent level and, gain knowledge doing whatever I'm doing and then share it to everybody else. My version of it, depending on the space I have, because, I'm still small time, regular table saw, drills and everything else, but, secondhand bandsaw and a couple other tools that I find on marketplace just to have a tool that I can use and not have to, I don't have the income for buying a brand new shiny stuff. The old stuff's still pretty good as long as it still runs, and it's something to practice on and develop the skills. So when time comes when that tool breaks, and hopefully the channel has progressed where it allows me to get the tool. And depending on the space in the shed, because I'm 10 by 15, it'd be hard to fit some stuff in here if everything's kind of crammed in this little tiny space. And me being 6'6", taking up the rest of it.
Yeah. So what's your as you buy tools, what's your favorite tool brands?
Oh, I don't know. DeWalt. Basically, when I was looking into tools, I was kind of trying to see which brand to kind of go with. Because if I'm going to buy tools, the best thing is buy one of those kits, especially during the holidays, Father's Day or Christmas, when they have those big sales for like the 4-piece, 6-piece, 9-piece sets. I was doing the research, and there's the store that I work at was doing a remodel, so I had seen a whole bunch of construction crews in there, and I was just seeing what tools they're using, and the main construction guys were all using DeWalt, and they were raving about their tools. And the funny thing is, when I see the electricians or the plumbers, they're all using Milwaukee. And I kind of looked into it. I'm like, yeah, Milwaukee does have a whole bunch of like plumbing series kind of stuff and electrical kind of stuff. And then Ryobi is, kind of, when I was doing reviews, you see more of like that DIY kind of thing. It's a great tool, great company, it works. But, if it's daily use and hard tool, I've seen reviews that it doesn't hold up as well. Granted, I could have bought a whole bunch of tools with that price point, but I wanted something, you buy something good, you spend the money, it should last a pretty good long time. Just like, you buy the big saws, you're going to try to get the better brands, Grizzlies or Deltas, or they're known for their quality. So that's what you want to, invest your money in versus some unknown name.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew what your answer was going to be, but I had to ask. So you have too much yellow in your shop.
Yeah.
For it not to be DeWalt.
I just kind of embraced it.
Yeah. So what are some of the bigger projects you have in mind for the future? Are you wanting to get in more into furniture, any hand tools? You want to do dovetails and all that?
That's one of kind of the things I want to get into is all the different joinery. Because, the workbench I built is basically just pretty much butt joints and stuff like that, because I was just building something to have a sturdy base that's up to my height. So it's not the best construction like Scott. His workbench is like, obviously he took the time to design it, and then he's got, the dowels and everything else. Eventually I want to get to that point. I just kind of experimented just to play around. Like originally the AC unit I had in the corner was just sitting on one of the DeWalt little foldable workbenches I had. But I'm like, let me build something so it's a little bit higher, so the flow is a little bit higher up in the air and helps rotate. So I was like, okay, let me just experiment. And I did like a 3-way joint thing. I've seen someone make something, and I'm like, let me see if I can kind of copy that joinery. And I was just playing around with it, and I did it with 2x4. Obviously, thinking back, it would probably been easier to like use 2x2s. It'd be a little bit easier to get that stuff cut on a table saw and everything else, but kind of ended up working. Just kind of use a table saw, cut as high as I can, get a little jig going so I can do it safely. Change your blade size and cut the dado style the old school way, and it worked. And I built it, and it's functional, and I had experience doing that kind of thing. And eventually, I want to get a little more fancier. So if I do little boxes, get the little dovetails, and get even fancier, drill the little dowel, get that different style of wood there, so you have nice little corner design of different kind of styles in there. So that's something I want to get to, but I got to start somewhere and get these little other joinery good, like pocket holes and everything else, and just kind of level up from there. But yeah, basically just get all the woodworking. I want to experience all the different techniques and basically create something.
Yeah, keep making different things. That's what I want to do is try different techniques, making different things, and I'd like access to more tools, but I'm like you. I'm limited on space.
Yeah, because you're pretty much outside your garage, weather pending, right?
Yeah, I usually roll out into the driveway whenever I can, but all my stuff is stored in one half of one of the garage. So we have a 2-car garage, so there's enough room for my wife's van, the golf cart, and then my little one wall of tools. So I'm very limited.
And that's basically how it was going to be for me too. Is we have a 1-car garage, and I was going to just take one side, get the table. I could push it back to the side when I'm done. And then the mother-in-law ended up deciding she wanted a bike, so she babies it. So that gained the garage. So I was like, okay, well, let me push the bike out of the way so I could roll my table out when I want to work. But then it was becoming a hassle if I'm not completely done with the project. Well, I got to put everything back and push it back. So then eventually the shed came along, and I just moved in here.
So now that you're at 1,000 subscribers, I'm asking you this, and for those in the comments, what do you think is the secret to getting 1,000 subscribers? Is there a secret sauce to this mixture?
Part of it is I think just being patient. Don't get too worked up on the numbers. I remember in the beginning, okay, I'm at 10, eventually 20, and then all of a sudden it's do I keep doing it? Because you just get that disappointment, no one's watching. Obviously, no one knows you, but eventually, something happens. The algorithm picks your video, and it kind of starts spreading, boosting up, and that October, November, December just kept climbing all the way to 300-400, and then it kind of slowed down. And then I think I had a couple of videos that just didn't have high numbers, and it was seemed like there was no traffic, and the subscriptions stopped too. It's what just happened? Just dead stop, and just kind of stopped paying attention to that as much, and I just kind of kept doing my own thing, get a video out, something that I can build and make, and then show the world, hey, I built this, check it out. Just like that coat hanger thing I built, it's kind of cool. Let me put it out, see, did well, and subscriptions started flowing back in, views started picking up, and then kind of changed the thumbnail, and that all in 1 week, 2 weeks, and something happened. People just got my channel, which I'm grateful. I still can't believe it, but I'll take it. I got the first little milestone, first of hopefully very many more. Yeah. And just kind of keep basically just improve with each video. I even went back and saw my first couple of videos as I was doing the build. I was like, oh, what was I thinking? Why did I listen to just record? So it's just kind of just build on top of each video. You see it, see what you can improve, and then hopefully someone that stumbles upon your channel, they kind of see a progression of a little bit better quality of what you're putting out, and hopefully they stick around and keep watching.
Yeah, I think one of the things is time, and it's based on your expectations, how fast do I want to grow? How, some people, whenever they set out, they feel they need to be at 1,000 within 3 months or 6 months or 1 year. But
sometimes you get lucky. You had that one video that sparked interest, and yeah, you could get up. But then if you're just doing regular videos, it might just take time. Just don't beat yourself up. It seems like a lot of people that start doing the YouTube channel, they give up right before it starts clicking for some reason.
And the no 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours would not be important if YouTube didn't set that as the minimum to get monetized. So I think people aim at that, and then sometimes they might even get there and really not have a plan of what they're doing long term. I got to get monetized. I got to get to that point. But it's really what you want to get out of your channel long term, what your goals are for, who you want to help. Is it service oriented with the viewer in mind, or is it just about trying to make money? And I think people being honest with themselves can set their expectations, and let that be the measurement of their own success. Instead of comparing it to someone else. Person ABC over here reached theirs in 1 month, and it took me 1 year. So what was your expectation, and what was your goal with your channel? I think it varies by individual.
It depends on I
think it should.
Yeah. It depends on what niche you're trying to get into. Obviously, the bulk of us are woodworkers. There's other people that do cooking and do other stuff, and obviously they want to get monetized. It's like they want that income. Income is great, but you got to put some effort into it. Like take the time. You got. For us, we got to build something, then we got to record it, at the same time, edit it ourselves until obviously we grow, then we can kind of bring someone in to help do that kind of stuff. But for me, it was just kind of like have a video timeline history of, here's where I started at. This is what I've grown, this little side hustles kind of thing to, hey, look, show my daughter, be like, hey, look what it's become. Look at all the stuff I've built. And now she she's like, can you build this? Can you build that? She's like, can you build a little day bed thing for our dog? And I'm like, okay, we'll do it for his birthday, which is coming up in 3 weeks. So I got to build a little platform thing to put his bed on. So, but like, yeah, she points out little things. It's like, can you build that? Can you do that? And I got coworkers like kind of interested, kind of seeing the planter boxes I built. I already sold one to the vendor I was saying, and I got a manager like, hey, can you do this? And I'm like, I can try. Definitely try to do it. Because something I can obviously, put under my belt, like gain that experience of making it, and I have content to show. Like, this is how I built this for the first time. Let's see how it goes. And like my thing was like, don't just have like the perfect version out there. Try to show some of those mistakes, because we all know we'll measure. There were times I measured 3 or 4 times, and for some reason, when I had the table saw set, it was at the wrong size. So I cut it. I'm like, I measured this like 3 or 4 times just to make sure. What happened? You just zone out on something and you just forget. It's like, oops. Yeah. So it's just like, put that in there. It's like, we're human. We do make the mistakes. And it's just like, how do we hide the mistakes depending on what we're building? And then kind of show people like, hey, this is, how I fixed it. Like the French clip behind here, I had everything measured, had everything set, made all, did the first test cut, and like, oh, it came out perfect. So just keep cutting. Next thing I know, I'm like, why is half of them shorter than the other? I'm like, what happened? And I looked at the footage, and like everything looked fine. The only thing I can think of is either the boards themselves weren't exactly 6 inches or whatever it was off, and then threw everything off, or the fence wasn't locked in completely and just kept shifting ever so slowly that I didn't even notice it. But to use the bulk on this side and then bulk on the other side, so it's not noticeable. But the second time when I did it with the other wall, I made sure everything was measured like 3 or 4 times and everything came out perfect. So basically, you just learn from your mistakes. Next time you do something, you'll get it done faster. So it's basically a learning curve, and just practice and practice and just get better and better and show that how you overcome the stuff. It kind of teaches other people, and hopefully, teaches my daughter. Be like, hey, if you mess up, figure out how to fix it, and then go from there.
Yep. Got a few comments. I find cleaning up organized shop gets to be my biggest downfall in a small shop size. You ever have any issues with keeping things clean? Looks perfectly clean to me.
I kind of tidy up just in case, but I try to keep everything kind of grouped, and that's what I was basically working on the last couple of weeks in between a build here and there. Is like, at first, as I'm walking around everything, being 6'6", big feet, I was just tripping over every little box, piece of wood, everything. I'm like, okay, I gotta figure out a way to maximize my space. 10 by 15 shed, and my table is 4 by 7. So it's like it takes up the center, but I have all this wall space. So I'm like, okay, a double door on one side. So I was like, okay, what can I do to keep it as organized as possible? So you try to group things together. So I got all the clamps on one side, nothing special, just utilize the French cleats I had and just kind of clamp it on. And I got my little sanding area because it's closest to the vacuum for the dust collection with the pads and stuff. And then I built something for my nail guns, which I'll have a quick build video on that eventually. But I got a little TikTok or Instagram thing on it. Yeah, cordless tools. So every tool, hand tool, is pretty much up height level here, so I can see where everything is and get to it instead of crawling through things and trying to find good luck trying to find a little orbital sander eventually. So I'm like, let me just get a spot on the wall so I can see it, and just little piece by piece getting things up hung on there, get a little shelf built to get a little other stuff in the background on anything I'm not using, kind of off to the side, and then the wood right behind me, and just kind of big thing. Everything should be on wheels. Like this table, if I have to use the miter saw on this side, I could push the table a little further out, so it gives me more room to walk around. If I'm done with that, I can go to the table saw, push the table this way, so I have a little more clearance on that side. And if I'm just doing sanding and stuff, I'll just push it back this way so I have a little bit more space. The bandsaw that I scored $100 for a 14-inch bandsaw. First thing I did when I dragged it in here, build a little base on wheels so I can always maneuver it to what I'm using it for. And I just build myself a flip top bench for the oscillating sander, and then the belt sander I have. So again, the sanding stuff's kind of grouped together and it's on wheels. I can maneuver it. I think that's the biggest thing, is look at your space, and if you have walls, use them. If you have a bench, get drawers and something. But then again, it could be also a catch-all thing. So it's like, catch-22 on that. But everything on the wall is kind of has its own little home, so you can kind of see it versus kind of hidden somewhere. And even now, I'm still looking for something because I have two boxes. Like, where did I put that again? Like, still getting in that organization process. But just when I'm done, I try to clean up the sawdust, and I need kind of tools, kind of put them to get back where it was, either the same day or like the next day, and then work on the next project. It's hard because if you feel like it's tight, but as long as you have things on wheels, just kind of slide it over to create your own little space.
Charmaid said, talking about getting to 1,000 subscribers. He says, share your videos. If YouTube is not doing it for you, do it yourself. So get out there and share it on Instagram and your own Facebook account and stuff, right?
That's basically what I do when I do the editing, and when I send it out, I'll have the link name for it, and I can basically do it YouTube and I have a link to do it straight away to like either Facebook or Instagram. So at least I have something going there. So at least people will see that, click on it, it takes them to the YouTube, and hopefully from that point on they keep watching stuff. So every time I always post on my Facebook, so I have like, you know, friends and coworkers that are friends with me, they'll see it. You know, I got the thumbs up, they'll watch the videos also, and then now they're kind of slowly getting there, like, hey, can you build this? Can you build this? It's like, how much would that be? I'm like, okay, so I just kind of build stuff. And then same thing, we'll try to salvage wood. Like for last Christmas, we had a damaged swing set, and we would have just thrown it away, but we salvaged some of that cedar. And I took what she had, planted down. Next thing you know, it's a blanket chest. So just kind of, you know, do what you can with, you know, what the materials you have.
Yeah,
I'm kind of all in. And I can see how people always keep their scraps, because eventually you're looking for that, you know, that little piece that could, you know, either prop something up for you or just extra piece of wood that you need. So it's hard to throw anything away.
Yeah, it is. Let's see. Chris says, oh, okay, he's talking with someone else. 2Elm Build says, I think the secret is just grind. I think there's a lot of validity to that. Is, you know, whenever you're
some of it is just like take a break from looking at your stats and just kind of keep doing what you're doing. Because if you keep looking at it and you don't see the number you're hoping to get, you'll probably go in that rabbit hole of like beating yourself down, and you kind of lose that momentum that you kind of started having. And I had those moments too, where it's like really, it's like no one's watched this, or I only have like 5 subscribers. Like, to like keep doing this, do I just, you know, turn out the camera and just build the stuff and not have a record of what I've done? But I'm like, you know what? I'm like, take a couple, you know, days off from looking at it, build some stuff, videos, record things, and then next thing you know, you just kind of, you know, you're looking through Instagram, you're like, well, let me check that YouTube studio and see where you're at. Like, oh, I got 10 subscribers. Cool. And just keep going. And next thing you know, you're like looking at it like 50 more, 60. Yay. And just keep doing what you're doing. Just don't look at it too much. Just keep, you know, just keep pushing yourself to just keep getting better with every video and project you do. And eventually you'll get there. I think that everyone strives for that 1,000 subscriber milestone, just because at that point you could get monetized, and then slowly you'll get some money reward for the, you know, hard work you're putting into it. But after that 1,000, I think everyone kind of shifts gears, not caring about the subscribers count. It's more about getting your content to get viewed. And that's basically how Jar says, like, just do it yourself, shoot it out to Instagram, do a shorter version, or try to make something funny of whatever you're doing, put it on TikTok, you know, just kind of get your channel out there. And then hopefully YouTube algorithm that we love picks your channel and just pushes it out there, and hopefully just keeps growing from there. And then, you know, everyone, you know, gets up there.
Yeah, I'm all in on the YouTube algorithm. I believe that YouTube tries to find the right videos for the viewers, but it's just hard to break through with your first one and to realize that what you could do more to get that to break through.
And the one thing that's out of our control is what's going around in the world. Like, you know, now, you know, lumber prices are up. It's kind of like, well, do I build this? Do I spend double on what, you know, like plywood?
A lot more than double.
Yeah, it dropped like $5. You're like, oh, but then it went back up $10. Like, oh. It's pretty crazy now. And then the shortage of the birch plywood, everything else is just like, you know, some of the stuff's out of your control, and you're like, well, what what do I build that doesn't involve plywood, or what can you get, like cedar. You buy a 2x4 of that, it's $18 for like an 8-foot board. But if you use those pickets, that's the only thing that's still cheap. If you can design something with that, you can save some money and actually hopefully present something cool with it. You just kind of find where to cut corners in price and then still have a nice quality product. Like that's what's under our control, is what we decide to build. That's basically it. The material, that just depends how much it is at that particular moment. And there's timing. Like I think a lot of some of the YouTube channels grew last year before, everyone was kind of at home. So a lot of people were watching, and now it's like that downtime, like people are kind of going back to work and stuff. Not as much time to sit down and watch our stuff, or even watch it just to get the ideas to build it at home. And now with everything's going on, it's a little tougher. So I think we're in that slow down period, so it might be a little bit tougher. We'll get maybe some spikes depending on what your topic is. I think it's just right now, I think it's just timing of what you put out there, I think.
Yeah. Got another question. How do you summarize what you do? How do you summarize what your channel is about? Example, DIY tips and tricks, shop builds, project builds, etc. Not necessarily exclusively one. How do you describe your channel?
Right now, it's still kind of a journey of woodworking. Like I don't want to be stuck in just one, shop build or project build. I want to kind of do a little bit. Like I have the little tips with the tape, stuff like that, just so hopefully, the YouTube algorithm doesn't just plug me into one lane. I want to have, an option to maneuver a little bit and be creative on things that I find kind of could be interesting, and have an off the wall build, whether it's, I can't think of anything right now. Let a replica of like a sword or something, like, be something cool, learn different techniques, use a tool a different way, build it, and, put that video out. Someone will like that, not the whole channel, but at least I'll get the view for that. And, still do something that, I build that actually works for my space. Hopefully I can pass that along to someone else that has a small shop, or someone that's looking to do something with French cleats. They'll look at my video, and, the up-team more people that also have something. But each of us have a different style, different idea of like, what to build based on their tools.
Yeah. Wayne over at Ambassador says, I have completely given up on trying to chase any kind of trend or what I think the algorithm will like. I have way more fun when I make videos that are different than the normal woodworking video. And I think there's a lot of
partly that's how I feel too. Is like, it's like, you gotta do the research, see what's working, but you find something that's working. Well, by the time you figure out how to build whatever they're building and produce it, the trend might be over. It's like TikTok, 30 seconds. It's like, trying to figure out something and build it. By the time you get yours, that one already had 5 million views. Well, that's 5 million less for you to get. But I just build what I need for my shop. I'll record it, show what I built, try to keep it somewhat entertaining and informative. Like I don't have plans, so I feel sometimes I show too much of something, but I'm like trying to show it to someone that's looking for the first time, not like a fellow woodworker. Like obviously you guys know how to build stuff. I'm learning how to build stuff. Somebody might stumble upon my channel, like, oh, I have a shed too. What has he done to maximize his space? And that's how I'm kind of thinking it. I'm going to just keep doing what I need for my shop. Once I'm established with my shop, then I can kind of gear more of like, like what's kind of trending, like, oh, cutting boards or something like that, like the charcuterie boards, stuff like that. Like I made some cutting boards. I made a video. I haven't, I didn't put it out yet, but, I made a first attempt on cutting boards, and, I wanted one for myself. And I think I went the more difficult route instead of just picking 2 pieces of wood and building something simple, I kind of went with the exotic woods, just mainly because I like the look of it, and definitely a learning curve. But I managed, and eventually I'll put that video up.
Yeah. Wayne's talking about his candle pin lamps. Yeah, you definitely have the market on that one. So PJ, I saw the comments in there. I'm glad your appendicitis is behind you and a thing of the past, and glad that you were blessed to still be around with us. So thank you and bless you for that. Got another question for you, Darius. You have a day job, family, and you try to produce a video every 2 weeks. Any tips with time management?
Yeah, that kind of went out the door. I tried. It was just because it was like easier stuff, easier builds. I guess it was easier to kind of put the video out. But I think I sometimes build 2 or 3 different things, and I kind of record it all at the same time. So I have the footage, and any downtime I have, I kind of spend the evenings. Like I said, like I have that hour or 2 before I have to pick up the kid from school and stuff. So I try to get something done, pick her up, then she's on her tablet or doing homework and stuff like that. I'll be on the laptop trying to edit stuff. And then if I do voiceovers, I definitely have to wait and pick a day where she's still in school and the wife's not at home working on calls and stuff, so I can get some quiet, no background noise or anything else like that. And obviously the dog too will be like, be quiet, let me get this done. But it's hard to do every 2 weeks. Like, everyone says, you got to keep putting the videos out. It's hard. You just do it at your time. I try to get it, and I'll look at it. I'm like, 14 days ago. And you see that 3 weeks ago, you're like, I gotta try to find some time. And it all just depends. Like if it's a heat wave, I know I'm not going in the shed. So any free time in the house, I'm trying to edit something and then put it out eventually. But it's hard. 40 hours a week, and then family time, and especially if the weekends are nice, you try to do stuff. Like next week's actually going on vacation, but we transfer the kid to a different school, so she starts early. So I actually have more time to myself, and I'll be definitely in the shed or the computer editing some videos. So I actually have hopefully a little backlog of some videos, so I can close that gap a little bit. But mine are all like builds, nothing like time specific of what's going on. Like I'm not like seasonal stuff like Halloween, Christmas builds, nothing like that yet. But although I probably should get Halloween going.
Yeah. R.A. Charlie says his parrot ruins his editing voiceovers. I could see that being a challenge. So you got this family, you got work, time management, but it's all in my mind about stressors too. How much stress you put on yourself to produce a video by a time limit, and is it really worth that kind of stress in your life versus putting out a product that you'll be proud of?
Yeah, that's why the goal was at least 2 weeks. Like I've seen some doing, a week. Mayhem. Every time I turn my phone on, I see like a video clip of something popping up. Like he's going nonstop. But like I tried to do every 2 weeks and try to get everything done. But it's like there's so many things that can slow you down, especially if you don't have a background in video editing and stuff like that. You're learning as you're going, and you YouTube a tutorial of how, like, can I do this? And you find it, you try it, and you're like watching that replay like 3 or 4 times, and you're like, I'm clicking every option. It's like, what, it's just not working. So you get frustrated. It's like, so when I get those moments, I just kind of step back, close that laptop, like I need a break. This is too overwhelming at this point. Like I'll just keep getting frustrated. I'll just work on it next day, and hopefully it works the next day, or I just find a different version of what I was trying to do. But like that we all have enough stress with, full-time jobs, making sure you have dinner on the table and stuff like that. And, just you have your stress at work. It's like, don't add too much unless if obviously this is your full-time gig, then obviously a whole different story. But if this is like a intro to woodworking, intro to YouTubing, just so you have like a record of your journey into it, just get a video out there when you can and make sure it's improved from your previous video that you had, and just relax.
PJ is asking, do you ever do a live? Have you ever done a live stream on your channel?
Not my channel. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised actually, everything's working today. I'm obviously doing the cell phone, because in the house I don't have like that office space or something. Well, I do have an office space, but right now there's a dog inside, daughter. Now obviously my wife will be home too. Just too hectic to try to keep everything quiet and stuff. So this is my little sanctuary right now. But hopefully at one point, if I have a bigger fan base that will actually jump on, maybe I'll do something. But right now, between just work and then, just try and get stuff done is hard, because my shift at work is basically 4 o'clock in the morning till 12:30. So I get up pretty early, and depending on what's going on at work, sometimes when I get home, it's just like, you're out.
One of your videos was your participation with Makers Rock.
That was fun.
How did you get connected with doing that collaboration, and how much fun was that?
I think it sparked originally the idea when you guys did the little Secret Santa one. I'm like, oh, that's kind of fun. I would like to do something like that. And then either one of our viewers mentioned it. I want to say it was maybe AJ that mentioned Makers Rock, that they do it every year. So I kind of checked on that, and I'm like, okay. And it was coming up, I think, start up January and then be done by April. And I was like, you know what? Let me try it. Hopefully, it works out. Like, I haven't done anything before, so I'm like, well, let me get this going. And plus, at that point, I'm thinking it's free promotion, because it's cross promoting each other's channels and stuff. I'm like, you know what? Let me try it. So, pick the album, and then you're like, okay, what album can I recreate that'll be easy to do, but not too easy? Like, challenge me in one way or the other, try figuring out what to do, use different materials. So I ended up picking the YouTube. Seemed interesting to do, and then kind of used the library to use their laser cutter to cut out some plexiglass, and I just built a little box and added some LED lights and did some painting on that plexiglass and everything else, and it kind of started looking like the album, and I was like, this is kind of fun. So I'm like, just a joy of like building stuff. It just like, it's kind of cool to get creative. Like, eventually I want to have that time where I can sit down and open the laptop, open up SketchUp, or learn the Fusion 360 and kind of design something and create something. Like, I kind of did the same thing with my table, kind of get the rough estimate of everything just so I have like a cut list so I know what to buy. And I just kind of started playing around with how to maneuver it, and I got a semi-automatic lift concept thing with my miter saw, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like, no one has it. Everyone has either that little flip down kind of thing, or they pull it out. I'm like, I'm getting older. I don't feel like dragging up a miter saw up out there, or table saw. I'm like, let me use this RV jack and just lower it and raise it.
You have a website?
I do have MightySawdust.com. Got to put some more effort in there, but I have like a little, I guess you could say, store through Printify. So pick a few items, and right now I have my logo on. You can buy on shirts or cups or underwear, anything. But eventually, I want to, if I have some free time, I want to like kind of create different sayings and stuff, and have that as an option. And because I'm not as popular, and like some of these other channels where you have all this merch that you can just buy it and have it sitting somewhere, and then anyone that wants it, you ship it out to them. Like I'll have the third party kind of thing right now, and hopefully at one point it progresses and gets to a point where I can be more involved with that, or even have my kid help. Be like, hey, look, I packed this for you. I'm like, okay, send it out.
Nice.
But like slowly want to
get them involved.
build that as like a portfolio along with like the Instagram, like any little build or what I'm building, take a picture. That's what the only thing. It's like, remember, take a picture. Just stop what I'm doing and try to take a selfie or something, and just put it out there so people can see that what you're creating.
Yeah.
Just promote yourself, basically.
Yeah, I don't know about the Sawdust logo on the underwear.
I was just playing around with it, and I'm like, can I do this? So basically I was just playing around, and I had the logo on like the butt cheeks. I was like, I'm just playing around. I'm like, someone buys it, whatever. But it was just funny.
R.A. Charlie guys says, you mentioned getting on the laptop and editing. What laptop computer do you use, and what software?
It's a HP laptop. It's about a year old, so it's not old, but there's moments where I was having technical difficulties because I think it just couldn't keep up with it at times using the Adobe. It just took longer sometimes, or just it felt like it glitched out here and there. So I just kind of found technical support to see what's causing it, or choose a different option when I'm editing, and it started working. So I think either I had something on the computer that was slowing it down. So here I am, trying to figure out what it was. And as of right now, everything's, working and hasn't had any issues to kind of clean up the computer. So just a regular laptop. It takes a little longer. I don't have any supercomputer to get it. So it's a regular HP. So it's not an Apple. I don't have any Apple products. Last one I had was the big old iPod. From that point, it's been basically Samsung Galaxies or HP laptop, or I had a Sony also before that.
What kind of camera do you
have? So originally when I started with my phone, which was a Galaxy S10. I started using that just because it was easy to use. At that point we didn't have a nice camera to use, and I was building up the shed, so fiberglass and paint. So I just kind of used the phone. But when I was building everything up in the heat outside, between the screen, because I had the selfie mode side, so the screen was on the whole time, so it got pretty overheated, and it kind of corrupted some of my video footage. So unfortunately, I would have had some comic gold there, because that was the time when I was actually doing the paint. So here I am in 6'6" person squeezing in to one of those white little has-waist suits. It says up to 6'6". Yeah, the first time I had to squat down, and I'm like, oh. Then I'm like, ooh, comedy gold. Corrupt, couldn't get it. I'm like, oh man. But from that point on, we had a what was it, the Sony A6100. So I used that for a little while. I like that one because the screen I can kind of flip up enough so I can kind of see if I'm in frame and stuff like that, to make it a little easier. And eventually I'm like, there's a lot of sawdust and stuff. I'm like, that's our family kind of camera. I'm like, I only have like one lens, and on a budget, so I can't get the fancier wide lens or anything like that. And I'm like, what? It was time to upgrade my phone. Got the Galaxy S22, and that's basically what I'm using. I like it because both regular camera view and selfie mode is basically like high definition. Like right now, it's on the selfie mode, and I'm looking at it myself. I'm like, that's pretty high definition versus the grainy look like the previous ones I had. So I'm like, I'm just using the phone. Everything kind of plugs into it, and it's working. And I can get it into tight spots too.
Are you using the Rode wireless mic?
Yes. I saved a little bit, and I got that because I was having too many issues with one of those other wireless. Obviously, try to get a wireless mic, but on the budget, sometimes you just gotta like tough it out and save a little bit more money to get the good stuff, and still had to work out some kinks because I was occasionally just getting sound on one side when I was editing, but at least I figured out how to fix that in the editing process to at least get it copied on both sides. But it's a lot better. But some of my videos I haven't used too much of them right now while using my phone because I'm kind of changing the style a little bit, like almost like a point of view kind of look as I'm building something. Like when I did the little cabinet here for the nail guns, camera was kind of like right in front of me as I'm like kind of piecing it together versus, you know, a different shot. So I was like, anything I'm talking, it's going to pick up right now. So I haven't used it in like 2 potential videos. But otherwise I would, yeah, because I was able to still have the AC on a little bit and actually do some of the talking, because before the other mic was picking up everything. So it was just too much of a pain trying to fix that in editing process. Just took a lot longer. And then trying to do stuff in the summertime and record, it was just like, okay, get the shed cool enough. Let me turn it off, start recording, rush through that. Okay, it's getting too hot. I can feel the sweat coming. Okay, pause, turn the AC on, and whole big cycle again.
Yeah, it makes it rough. Thanks First Fruit Design for that question. There was a comment from First Fruits Design about the underwear. It says he makes the underwear himself. It's 600 grit. It's very comfy. So I thought that was pretty good. All right. So where can everybody find you besides YouTube?
Obviously YouTube. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I have a little page on the Mighty Sawdust, and Instagram is also slowly dabbling in TikTok, but I can't think of a name. I tried TikTok, but that's just seems pointless on Twitter. But mainly I'm just focusing on Instagram and Facebook and the YouTube. So pretty much if you search Mighty Sawdust, I'll pop on each version right now.
Well, thank you for being a guest. I really appreciate it. I know it was short notice, and I appreciate you coming on. I hope you enjoyed it. I had fun.
It's kind of weird being on this side of the camera, kind of.
Yeah,
it was just kind of fun. Just kind of funny. I was actually talking with Joe Shepard on Sunday. We were talking about kind of things, and that was the first time we actually did a little voice chat. It's like, oh, this is the first time I'm actually able to talk to you versus typing to you. So it's kind of, it's fun. It was just, I was kind of nervous at first. I'm like, okay, what do I have to offer? I'm still brand new. I'm the little guy. Technically.
you got the first huge milestone. So congratulations, and you did a great job, and I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for being here. But I hear my wife calling. I gotta go.
You know there ain't another girl like her in the city. No, you know she looks so good, but she ain't so pretty. I feel this way, but I'm the ride she's driving insane. And don't you know you oughta pump the brakes? I can't tell you why don't you let it go. I'm the line and if finally I'ma let you know you're somewhere in between my lanes. Hey, you know there ain't another girl like her in the city. Yeah, you know she looks so good, but she ain't so pretty. I can't believe I rode so long
there was a gap in the market.
I do think it's important that, as much as I'm not really a fan of saying having the avatar behind the camera, I do think it helps to imagine that you're actually talking to somebody who will be watching the video. Sometimes it's easy to forget that you see numbers of people watching, but you forget that these are actual people watching your video on their phone or on their TV or wherever. And I think it's important to keep that in mind.